Welcome back to the Street Parking Podcast. Today's episode is another episode with one of our amazing Street Parking members who are here to film the vault workouts with us. And this episode is extra special because we finally get to see the face behind the thumbs up. One of the faces anyway.
Yes.
So Heather Litton is one of the Heathers that like this. And she's been a member since the very beginning. And if you were around before we had the app and the platform, and she definitely at one point liked your performance if you were logging your scores. She's one of the two Heathers that is the reason that we added the little, when you log your score in the app, the little pop-up that said the Heathers like this, because her and Heather Heston, I think, would just go on Wodify and like everybody's scores to make sure that everybody felt supported and loved. And so we'll talk about that a little bit, but also just want to talk to Heather and get to know you because you're one of our OOG members and you have just an amazing story to tell to encourage people. So you joined in January of 2017.
Yes.
You were already exercising though.
Yes.
You were a member at a CrossFit gym. So tell a little bit about how you came to find street parking and then why, because you were already a member at a gym, why you joined. Because I think people will gain value of like, hey, you don't have to pick one or the other.
Right.
So let's talk about that a little bit first.
So the reason or how I came upon street parking was through Instagram. I think you guys had just started, I remember like December of 2016. So you guys had started talking about it coming along and that you're going to open it up to everybody and that you're just testing some workouts and stuff. And then when it came, I don't know exactly when it was available to everybody, but January came and I'm like, I'm just going to do it. Like there's no loss, $20. I'm like, I can stop a Diet Coke habit and pay for it. Yeah. And there was no commitment either. So it wasn't like I have to worry about 6 months or a year. And it was just like, so I said, okay, I'm going to do it. It looks good. The programming looks solid. And so I did it, and I did it more to add as accessory work to my workouts at the box.
Yeah. So what was your original plan?
My original plan was just to go do the normal workout at the box and then do like Suns Out, Guns Out or the butts and guts or the strength. Because I mean, back then I think it was just the butts and guts and Suns Out.
We had a few and then there would be more that would like trickle in and then it became, and then that's just all
over. But that's what, it was just that whole thing of like, okay, I'll just do that work and then I'll have this as an extra. And that was the plan, but I didn't really use that plan until like later in the year.
Okay.
So it was like hit and miss, because life happens and it's like, okay, I just need to go to the box. Right. I got to get that workout in. If I have time, then I'll add street parking in. So that was my original plan, just to use it as an accessory.
I'm going to get into your schedule now and what you do now a little bit later, but you're a mom and a grandma and you're busy. Why, can I ask the motivation of, you were already going to the CrossFit gym, sounds like you really enjoyed it there, and you still do 2 workouts a day, which again, we'll get into. What is it that you love about it so much, or why did you want to do more, I guess is what I'm trying to ask, at least at that time, and we'll get into now later.
I think, I don't know. I just know that I love to work out. Like I do enjoy it. And if I could win the lottery and quit my job
and just work out all day,
I'd be happy. I really like the fitness, and I like just being busy, I guess. It's really hard for me to sit down and not do anything.
Right.
And so when I have the extra time, whether, like at the box, and it's like, okay, well, the kids are at school, I don't have to be anywhere. So let me just throw in a little bit of more. And I think with the Suns and Guns and the Butts Out.
The Butts Out. Yeah. The Butts Out, Guts Out.
BNG and SOGO. I think it hit the smaller muscles,
right,
which also need to be worked. Where like at the gym, it was always like the bigger muscles
right,
get the most work.
Yeah.
And so to be able to work on those smaller muscles and get them up to par with the bigger ones it was just more like, okay, you get the whole package in my mind at that time.
Okay. Yeah. And I think the reason that I wanted to ask you that is because I think sometimes, and this can come across on our Facebook group or even in our messaging or whatever, people might get the sense that we say you shouldn't work out so much, or you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't. The message is you don't need to. Right. But we have a lot of members who sometimes I'm like, how do you guys have so much free time? Like you're doing all these extra programs and everything. Because I'm like you, I love to work out. Right. I'm in a season right now where I have 3 kids that are under 5. So, we get in what we can and we're busy and we're working and everything. But never anywhere would we say you shouldn't if you love it and enjoy it. And I think that message gets twisted a little bit sometimes to where just because we're saying you don't need to doesn't mean we're saying you shouldn't if it's something that you love.
Right.
So
exactly.
Okay, so you joined in 2017. You were using it kind of sporadically. When did the likes start happening? So again, before I let you answer this, if you don't know what I mean by that, we originally used an app called Wodify where people would log their scores in there. It was like a third-party thing. It wasn't. We didn't own it, and it was a app that was used by a lot of CrossFit gyms, which is why we chose it because we were familiar with it. And you could log your workout, and then there was a leaderboard, and you could like other people's, and I think you could even comment on their stuff.
Yes.
And when did you start? So you would go through. Let's just talk about. I'm not even going to assume that I know what you would do. So let's talk about when it started, why it started, and then how big of a job it became. I want to know how much time you were spending, and if you had like a goal number of likes I want to know how this all transpired.
Okay, so I started. It was actually with one of the little challenges that we had done
because it was part of it.
Love. Yes, it was like show some people some love, and so that's how I would show it was through Wodify. So when you look on there. And like you would put your scores on there.
Right.
Sometimes Julian would on his. So it's like you guys would have, 30, 40 likes easily and stuff. But then you kind of like scroll down and you would see 1, 0.
The further down you got.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, well, let me just like show those people, So I'd scroll to the very bottom. And then I'd start liking. And so I'd like, like 5. And I'm like, well, that one doesn't have it either. So let me like hers. And let me, so then it was like, well, I don't want to feel them. I don't want them to feel left out. So I would just keep liking all of them until I got through. That's how it started is with one of the challenges and just showing love. And then just not wanting anybody to feel left out.
How soon after you joined did that start?
I want to say probably 2018.
Okay.
Because I don't remember.
Was it right away?
Yeah.
Okay.
2018. And then it's kind of funny because I do remember somebody commenting on Facebook like, oh, I really like the likes that Heather's given me. And then a gentleman put like, oh, she's never liked mine. So at first, I know. So at first I was just doing the women. I was just doing the women.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah. And I don't know why I didn't think of the men, but I just didn't. I was just women, So when he said, well, she never liked mine, I was like, well, why haven't I liked yours? So then I started doing the men. So I was doing both of them. And it was just, I never thought that a simple like would make such an impact on somebody else's day. I was just sitting there like, yep, like it. Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Dang, she crushed it. Hope I can do that. Oh, that kind of stuff. And yeah. So
by the time, because you did it all the way through until we released the app, it's been a little over a year now, like a year and a half ago, but you were still doing it all the way. So let's fast forward to like 2020, 2021. How much time daily were you dedicating to liking people's performances? Because it got the community got so big that the leaderboard, it wouldn't even open half the time.
No, I honestly, it was the first thing I did every single morning when I woke up to like the very last thing I did at night. And it wasn't, if I waited to like say sit down at 2:00, I just know that I'd miss a lot of people. So, like at 5 a.m. when I wake up.
There's not as many scores yet.
There's not. And so I can easily get them. And it's really bad, but it's like I'd get up, go to the bathroom. I'd put my pants on. I'd be like, as I put one leg in, I'd be like, pull it up, put the other leg, like. have my pants on and I'd like put my shirt on, and just kept going like that. And at that time, because it's so early in the morning, I can do the whole group at once. Later in the afternoon, because I would go to work and I'd still it's like maybe every half hour to an hour, I'd open the app and the scores as they were coming in.
Did it just become such a routine, or did you ever ask yourself why am I still doing this? Or did you ever have days or weeks where you didn't do it and then you felt this tremendous sense of because to be clear, we never asked Heather, besides the challenge when we told everybody, please go support each other.
Right.
We never asked Heather to like your stuff. And, but we were always so grateful for it. So was it always coming from a place of I really care and I want, to make sure people are seen? Or did you ever feel well, now I have to keep this up because people expect it?
Yeah, it's so funny because I do remember a couple people putting on, again, Facebook, oh, I feel bad that Heather, she probably feels like she has to do it. I've never felt like I had to do it. I never felt like it was a job. I enjoyed it. I loved being able to, because as much as people sit there and say, oh, well, you're supporting me, and I'm you guys did the same. Everybody that I liked and I took the time to read, because I didn't read all the comments, but it's
how dare you?
I know, right? But some of them where it's just this one really sucked. I had a rough day, and I don't think they realized that the comments were public, but at the same time, I'm well, shoot, if they can do it and their day is, rough, then okay, you got me. I'll go do it. I can do it as well.
Yeah, so you were gaining something from it for yourself too, where obviously anytime you do something nice for somebody or help somebody out there, we all should recognize that we benefit from that too. But you were being inspired by seeing the stuff that they were saying.
I was, because sometimes you get into that pity party mode where you're oh, my heart, my day is so hard, and poor me, I'm just gonna sit on the couch and eat bonbons or whatever. And then someone who actually had a hard day, and you're dang.
I know. Well, I get that from Facebook and Instagram a lot. I'll go on there and there are definitely days where I don't feel like working out, or I feel like kind of mailing it in or whatever. And you see this story of a mom whose kid is sick, or her, this person who's deployed. And you're just oh my gosh, I'm being such a baby right now. If they're out there doing, and they inspire you. So you were getting that from reading the scores and reading the comments and stuff.
I really was. Or even the ones that were and I looking at it and stuff, because with your guys' messaging as well, it's if you guys showed up, that's half the battle. And so when I see even the comments of this really sucked, I didn't do my best, but leaving a comment but you showed up.
Right.
You did it. So, it kind of hurt to see those kind of comments as well, because it's you showed up, you did something.
Right.
Don't be so hard.
Right.
So it was never definitely never felt like I had to do it. I think even there was a time where I wasn't feeling too good and I was sick, and I did miss, I think I posted out there hey, sorry. I'll be back. I have, or someone's Heather hasn't liked me for, a long time. And I'm I'm sorry, I'm still here.
So would you get everyone's performance?
I would try very, very hard, because Wodify would only allow so many records at a time.
Yes.
And I always did it on the phone. I never did it on a computer. So I would have to, at some point, I'd actually start going from doing everybody as a group to doing the age ranges.
Okay, that helps.
That way I could get more
to load.
Yes, more to load. And then, just doing the men, then just doing the women, and then kind of just doing it backwards, doing the men first and then the women.
Wow. That's so crazy. And I think one of the reasons that I love your story so much and the way that you're speaking about it is because everybody has unique ways that they can inspire other people and that they can encourage other people. And through doing that, end up motivating themselves, like we're talking about. And I think there are people in the community who are amazing athletes. And I'm not talking about just the coaches or anything like that, but we have some really fit people and they post and they show it. And that's one type of inspiration. And we love that they do that. And people can aspire to be that or be oh my gosh, but then we have people in the community who might just be super funny.
Right.
And they can go and comment on people's posts on Facebook or Instagram or post a funny meme or whatever. And that's a way to keep people motivated and engaged in the group. And then there are people who are really like a Jen Landry, who is just like, you ask a question and within 3 minutes, she's going to give you an answer or find somebody who can,
right.
you know? And so I think people need to look at and see, like, there are so many ways that you can be involved in the community.
Oh, yeah.
Find your own little thing that's like your thing. And whatever that is, know that it's super valuable. And it's what keeps the community glued together,
right.
because none of us would have ever been able to do what you were doing. Like we were doing so many other things and people thought that you guys worked for us.
Yes. Or that we were bots.
Right. We had some sort of like algorithm set
right.
up. And it was so appreciated because, something that Julian and I have always valued is, like you're saying, if somebody puts themselves out there, and whether they post on Instagram or Facebook or they log their score, just seeing that somebody else saw that and gave them like a little thumbs up can go a really long way for somebody who it might be a really big hurdle that they cross just to do that in the first place in general. And we always had a goal in the beginning of commenting on every single post and liking every single post. And we did that until you get to a threshold of members where our Instagram account, we used to follow all of our members.
Oh, okay.
And we found out sometime, I think in 2019, that Instagram only lets you follow 7,000 people.
Oh.
And so then we were like, well, we got to start a second Instagram.
Right.
And it was to the point where if you're private, we can't see your stuff, but maybe we could like your score, or maybe if you're on Facebook or whatever. And so it's much more challenging, but what you guys were doing was super helpful to us. And I know it meant a lot to the community.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get the little story behind that. There's more to you though.
Yes.
Let's talk about the rest of you. You're a mom of six.
Yes.
And a grandma of 6. And me and Kim were just talking. She's only 50 years old. She's got 6 grandkids. And Kim's like, oh, because, Kim's, I think, 42 or 43. She's like, oh my gosh, like that realization. So,
yes.
And a lot of those people live with you now.
Still and yet, yes.
So given it, you have a very full house. Let's talk about how full your house is now.
Okay. So right now there's, me and my husband. And then I have... So the 2 older girls are out doing their own thing. My oldest is 33, and she's in New Mexico with her family and her 4 kids.
Okay.
And then my other one is 26, and she is out of the house, and she is actually doing seasonal jobs.
And so one you were talking about might end up with her like home base in Utah?
Yes.
Okay.
So she's like going to Alaska. She came
awesome.
home for a little bit work. She's in Colorado right now working. And I think she's looking at Maine after that
nice.
season.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm like, go for it. Have fun.
Yeah, that's like a perfect age to do all that stuff.
She doesn't have anything to tie her
great.
down, no boyfriend, that's
awesome.
Yeah, so I'm like, go have fun. And then at home, I have my 22-year-old, and she just had a baby 3 months ago.
Oh.
A little girl named Amelia. So yeah, she's a doll. So her, Amelia, and then her boyfriend, Kyle. So it's Christiana, Amelia, Kyle. Then I have Zach, and he's got a 2-year-old son.
Okay.
And he co-parents with the mom. So we get Max every other night or every other day, depending. And he's 2.
Okay.
And then I have Nick and Braden. Nick is 17, a senior in high school, and Braden is 15, a sophomore.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's a busy house.
Yes.
That's a really busy house.
It is.
And so let's talk about, so you were going to the CrossFit gym, because that's your reality now. Before we get into your schedule now, you were going to the CrossFit gym, you were using street parking supplementally, and then a couple of things happened at like 2017, 2018 that changed that dynamic for you a little bit. Are you, talk to us about why that changed and what kind of happened to where now you're mostly, are you completely at home now?
Yeah, mostly.
Okay.
Mostly. So in 2017, and I used it supplemental. October 1st, me and my 2 daughters ended up going to Las Vegas for the Route 91 concert that they had. Of course, October 1st, that night is when the mass shooting happened there. That morning, Monday morning, my daughter had to go back to school. She was going to Southern Utah University. And so she had to go back to Cedar City by herself. And me and my daughter, Christiana, were coming back home. When you try to sit and process everything, my whole fear was that my oldest daughter, Michaela, was going back to Utah by herself. Like there was no support. There was no, her friends, I think she actually broke up with her boyfriend because she was in a toxic relationship, and this just brought it to a head. So she ended up going home, not even to a boyfriend. So I was worried about her going back. I think it was when I finally went back home, I got home Monday. Wednesday, I'm like, okay, I need to get out of the house. I just need to get out. I need to go to the gym. I need to just lift heavy so that I can just get it all out.
Right.
You know?
It's like very therapeutic.
Yeah. So I ended up going to the gym, and they were doing something like high intensity. I can't remember. And I asked if I, can I not do that? Can I do this? And at the time, they're like, no, you can't. We want you to do this and this only. And it was like kind of like at that point where I was like, this isn't going to work. Like if I can't do what I need to do to get me through what I need to get through, then it's not going to work, At the same time, my father, who also lived with us at the time, his health was failing. So I'm like, okay, it's perfect. I'll just work out at home with street parking. I'll be able to be there because then I don't have to worry about driving to the gym. And it's not an hour at the CrossFit box.
No. There's the drive, there's the chatting, there's the hanging out afterwards, there's the drive back.
Yeah, it's never. So I'm looking at 2 hours at least away from my dad, who at the time was trouble walking, balancing, all that stuff. So I'm like, nope, I'm just gonna cut the box off and stay home and be there for the kids and then for my dad too. And so October is when I quit the box and then stayed home and did street parking in the garage with just a couple dumbbells, a jump rope, I think at the time. And then I was there with my dad. My dad passed January 2018. So almost a year after I joined street parking, he had passed. And at that time, I look back at it and I'm like, there's no way that I would have been able to keep my sanity and my health going without street parking. Because if I had to go to the gym, I would have never gone because, it's like I can't leave my dad. But I can set my dad up. I'm like, here's your drink, here's your TV show, which was Young and the Restless.
I mean, it's basically what we all do with our kids.
Right. I'm like, okay, you're good. So, and then just go in the garage, 30 minutes max. And then I can come in and be like, okay, what do you need? You're good?
Yeah.
You're good. So and then after he passed, because he was living with us for like 5 to 6 years. So he was a big part of our family. So after he passed, then it was dealing not only with, the loss of my dad, the loss of a grandpa that got close to his grandkids.
Yeah, 'cause he was there.
Yeah, and then having to deal with all of their emotions and trying to keep. And it's one of those things where it's like kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. So my dad was Mexican, and you don't cry. You just don't cry.
I'm learning this. We're trying to break that cycle, but yes.
Right. And my kids are trying to do that too. And I'm like, I don't cry. It's like, we don't do that. So when my dad passed, I'm trying to tell him it's okay. It's okay to cry. At the same time, I'm like, I don't cry. You don't cry. We don't cry.
Yeah.
But it's like if I didn't have that street parking to be able to just go in and either lift heavy, throw something around, run, like do anything.
It's an emotional, it's so much of what I use fitness for as well.
Yes, that it's just, I don't know where I'd be health-wise. I don't know if I could run around with my 2-year-old grandson and throw him around and chase him, and because I don't know if I'd be able to do that, It's just, it was huge. It was a huge saving grace.
I think there's like such a balance there, because I completely understand what you're talking about with the way that you felt going into the gym that day where you just wanted to lift heavy. Because I owned a gym for 3 years, and I understand like you can't just let everybody come and do whatever they want. You got to have your thing, and when the coach is watching, whatever. So I completely understand that. But I do think that is one of the things that is so valuable about at least having some equipment at home for those days, because you get a vibe of like, this is what I need today.
Right.
And one of the first times that I experienced that was when I was pregnant with our first, like, Julian and I had like a bunch of emotional stuff going on and everything. And sometimes I just needed to go out and just literally sit on the bike and like cry. I'm a crier. But, and if I had to go to it, like, there are certain times where you need community to lean on, and it can be so valuable. And there are some times where you just need it to be you.
Right.
And you just need to be in your space and in your feels and not, put on a smile for everybody and you don't feel like socializing and you don't feel like, doing the whole, maybe there's a funny warm up that's happening that day or something. And all of that has so much value and a place. But that's why we always encourage people, like, at least have a pair of dumbbells at home, so that when you're in that mode of like, I don't want to see anybody, I don't want to talk to anybody, you can still take care of yourself. And fitness freedom, choose what workout speaks to you in that moment. Yeah, I think that's so valuable.
Yeah, it is, because there are times, like you said, I just, I don't want to do that like high energy, so it's like, it's nice to open the app and be like, oh, look, dumbbell strength. I'm like, okay, it's, a slower pace where I can like work on the form and just get kind of lost in my thoughts.
Yes.
As I'm trying to count the reps.
Like 1, 2, 3 down, 1, 2, 3. What rep am I on? 6? I don't know. So yeah, that makes total sense. And but still hopefully being able to stay connected to the community, whether it's online or something. Even if you're not chatting with people or posting anything, just reading what they are writing, you still feel connected.
And that's the thing, because I know like on Facebook, and I'm sure with a lot of members, Facebook street parking is like constantly on my feed. Yeah. And so it is nice to just be able to open that up. And some of the things I just sit there and I'm like, you guys really? This is what, like washing your legs. I'm like,
it's a hot topic.
It was for a little bit. Yeah. I was like,
now it's Photoshop.
It is. Where I'm like, these people are talented, I'm like, but it is the way to like, and once you do find a couple of those people, which there's a few people that I have connected with, and we have like the Apple Watch friends, and
nice.
Every once in a while, and one of them, Chris Eaton, he cracks me up because every once in a while he'll come with a comment like, you suck, and I'm like all right, buddy, let's,
Yeah,
so, but awesome. It's that kind of connection that even though I've never met him and his wife, the connection that, he can sit there and do that, like, call me out.
Yeah, only your good friends can do stuff like that.
Or like with him, and I'm like, where have you been? I haven't seen you.
Yes. And
he's just like, oh, I'm like, no, sorry.
Yes.
So it's like, but, because it is such a large community that you just find those people, just like you would anywhere else, like at a job or at the box.
Right.
There's those people that you do connect with. You're friends with a lot of them, but you have that closeness.
You're a few people. Yeah. We encourage people to try to find those people in the group for sure. And sometimes it takes some time, and you just have to see who, maybe you're the group that's always trying to be funny, or maybe you're the group that's always doing the glory days, or maybe you're the, and you just find your people, just like you were saying. So that was like 5 years ago now. And so since then, have you been completely at home the whole time?
Yes. Yeah, I really have. Up until recently, I did just join the gym. I actually joined a local gym because my son does water polo and swimming.
Okay, so it's more of like a recreation center. It's not the same CrossFit gym you were going to before.
No. Yeah, it's more a global gym.
Okay.
So I only joined the gym because he wanted to, do his swimming off season and stuff. But no, it's all street parking at home.
Do you ever have people come work out with you?
Yeah, I used to, but then COVID hit and they really haven't been back since.
Right.
So it's usually, and I do have people kind of trickle in every once in a while. One of my daughter's friends comes.
What about your kids? Do they work out with you?
No.
Not yet.
No, they like to work out, but they have like Braden, my youngest. He just likes to work out by himself. No one can be in the garage with him. Okay. Yeah, like he is very just like, get out. I'm like, nope, Mom, out. I'm like, all right, fine. It's my garage though, just so you know. And then my other son, he has some friends. I guess one is a trainer at a gym, so he goes to the gym with him when he's in town. So, he goes to the big global one. And then my middle one, Nick, he's off and on. He's, he is warm, I guess. Like there's times that he wants to work out. He used to be really big with CrossFit. He would go with me at the box at 5 a.m. and just, like do his little deadlifts with me and do the CrossFit. Awesome. And then, I don't know, because
he's going to be so mad that you called him little deadlifts.
I know.
Like I only have a 5-year-old and I know he'd be mad if I called him little deadlifts.
I know he probably will, but I'm like, it's Nick. And so I'm like, I got you, kid. He's so sarcastic with me. So I'm like, okay. But he likes to work out, but he's more into like doing it slow and controlled. And he feels if the clock's on that he's like got to rush through it and then his form breaks down.
Okay, I see.
So he'd rather do
he's a very methodical person.
Yeah. And then, those are the three.
Okay.
Everyone else is like, no, we're fine.
Yeah. When you were like trying to wrap your brain around what you experienced in Vegas and then with your dad, I mean, those things happened so close to each other. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times when people go through things like that, they stop taking care of themselves and they stop because it's just too hard or it's, they just want to lay in bed and feel safe and cozy. How did you not allow that to happen to you?
So, I don't know, because I know sitting there, like I got home Monday, Tuesday I stayed home. This is after Vegas. Wednesday, it's like I could feel myself kind of slowly going down a dark circle where if I kept staying inside and not doing anything, that this is what my norm would be. And so it was a challenge. It was a very physical and emotional and mental challenge to get up and out of that house. Because it's like I knew if I stayed just one more day, then I'd want to stay another day and then another day.
And it's so easy to be like, well, you just went through this or this just happened. Like, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, I think we all fight that at some point where it's like you're trying to balance taking care of yourself and allowing yourself to process it, but not falling into this unhealthy pattern.
Yeah. And I think that's where knowing yourself, I think, because, this whole journey of like working out or trying to take care of myself, eating better, like that's all a journey and learning about myself. If this had happened, like years ago, I don't know, I probably would have like slipped in because I wouldn't know myself and the signs to say, hey, you need to get out because this is not healthy, And I think for my daughters, I think they just watched me and they're like, okay, well, if mom got out, then I need to get out. So I think it was just more of also an example because it's like, it would have been easy just to stay home and hide and be like, okay, and I hear, and I don't want to discredit the other people that went through what we, that we all went through. But I watched some of them and I'm like, you're still in that place. Like you're still, when they're like, I can't be out in public. I can't.
It's like you survived, but did you really?
Right. And I'm like, you're still there. If you, it's been 5 years, 6 years or whatever, it's like, you need to get out. And I remember with my daughters, we were caught up in the hotel, a Hooters hotel. We had run from the venue and went in there and we sat there and, I remember a guy came, it was kind of funny because we had bought a charger for our phones at one of the stores in there. And so we sat in there and we charged the phone and a guy come up and he gave us like a 20. He's like, just for 5 minutes of our charger, and we're like, no, here, just, use it, sit down with us, and he's like, yeah, this is it. We're never going to go to another concert ever, as long as we live, and I sat and once he left, I looked at my girls. I'm like, don't let this control you, like, it happened and it's scary, but we're out and we're alive. Like, go live your lives. Don't let this make you fear life, I guess, and stuff. And like, they haven't. I mean, Michaela's out there traveling the world.
Oh man, what a good mom. Because I picture that with happening, me being with my kids and something like that happening, and that's a whole other battle of like, I would be like, nope, you're not going back to Cedar City. Like, you're coming with me and we're all gonna, our natural instinct is just so protective. And maybe I feel that way because they're so young. But I mean, what a good mom.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm like, Hopefully. Kids, you hear that?
And then I would say too, maybe not all of them are working out with you right now. And maybe, they never will do exactly what you're doing and they'll find a different way to move that they love. But one of the things that we love about working out at home is just that it's so normal to them.
Right.
It's so normal. Like our 3 boys have no idea that people use their garages for anything else because everybody that they know works out in their garage. Like they've never seen the inside of a normal garage.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah. And so they're going to be really confused by that at some point when they go to a sleepover or something and they're like, wait, you put your cars in here? Right. What's going on? Where's your gym? But I think, it's just normalizing it goes a really long way because then they never have to overcome the hurdle of like, work out at home. Like I have to go to this place or I have to go to that place. They just know like, oh, I could do it at home automatically. And so you've already modeled that for them, which is awesome.
Hopefully. And it's, because I started, I was very active growing up. I mean, I did sports and all that other stuff, but I didn't get into like working out until, after Braden was born. So about 15 years.
Okay.
But it's, with them being so young, they did see like the ups and downs of me trying to learn about myself, like learning how to love myself versus like, oh my gosh, I'm just so fat or I'm just so slow or I'm just so this. So like my girls heard me talk that way. And so they'll come back every once in a while and be like, oh, Mom, because they'll be like, you don't want to eat that. That's going to make you feel bad. And I feel bad that I exposed that to them. But on the flip side, it's just like, one, you guys know me because I will eat that and it will make me feel
bad.
We'll
go to taco time.
Right. But two, it's like, but they have like the self-confidence that I never had.
Wow.
And I'm just like in awe of their confidence because I'm like, I could never do that. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm so proud of them. And then just like my boys, it's nice that they are able to see that, because they at some point they got that thing if like girls lift heavy, they're going to be like men, and so they look at me and they're like, hey, you don't look like a guy. I'm like, no. But they also appreciate the stronger women now. I mean, my son who is 19, gonna be 20, he's sitting there and he's just like, look at this one, she's got muscles and, all this other stuff. And it's nice to hear them not fall into that trap of like, well, if you lift heavy, you're gonna look like a man, and no one's gonna want you, like that kind of stuff. Yeah, and I know that I did the damage a little bit with the girls, but at the same time, it's like they're so full, and I sit there, and I'm like, I don't know how you got that confidence, because
that's so awesome.
I sit there and I think about it, I'm like, I really kind of bullied you guys a lot. I'm like, I really. And they're like, yeah, you build us up, but then you bring us back down. I'm like, well, that's what moms do, Good job. Could have been better though.
This is like a very Mexican mom for sure. No, I think that's so great. And I obviously I only have sons, but I feel the same way about modeling a physically strong woman and everything like that to them, and just having them be like, oh yeah, like anything, you can do anything. Right. I ask them all the time, I'm like, who's stronger, mama or papa? And they're like, papa. I'm like, gosh dang it, or whatever, but I'll show them, like I'll do a pull-up and they think that's so cool, and everything. It is, and they're just going to grow up with this idea of women that I think is different than a lot of people experience, which hopefully will in turn have them appreciate, when they start paying more attention to women when they're older, of knowing what women are capable of and how strong they are and amazing. So that's awesome. Okay, so now let's talk about your schedule now, because you're still doing multiple sessions a day. Yes. I read in your email that I asked you, to give me a little bit of background on where you're at right now. What's your schedule like? Because you have this full house. You've got 2 little kids there. At least some of the time there's 2 of them. Well, there's always one. Right. Talk to us about, or tell me about your schedule now, and kind of how you use street parking now. Okay. So right now the schedule is, I'm really just trying to find a new schedule because the baby is just 3 months old. It's new. So, and even though I'm just the grandma, I got the mom there that's just like, Mom, can you help? So, so right now I get up like about 4:30 and I try to hit the global gym just to do like some strength and then some cardio. Then I go to work, which I work
at the church, and I'm a custodian there, so
Okay.
I'm constantly moving around and all that other stuff. I get home, say about 12, like noon to 1, and then that's when I do my street parking. So street parking, I do the daily WOD, and then if I have time, because again, I like to do
You
it.
love
It's
it.
not, yeah, it's not that I have to. I don't feel like, 15 minutes or 10 minutes is just not enough.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's like, because I love to do it.
Yeah.
Then I'll add in like one of the accessory workouts.
Cool.
Um,
And is that, how many days a week is that schedule happen?
it's 5 to 6.
Okay.
I'm learning to take Fridays off just because I have to go into work early, so I can't get in at 5.
Yeah.
And then the energy just fades a lot faster at that point too. So I'm like, okay, maybe Sundays are definitely my rest days. And like Fridays is
Sometimes.
sometimes are just a very active rest
What
day.
part of California do you live in?
Southern California.
Do you, I mean, it gets hot. It gets
Yes.
hot there. But pretty much year round, you live in a place where the garage door is open and there's sunshine. And I mean, that's so great. You got to fill your day with something. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. One of the things I've noticed, and I've been really interested since doing these interviews, I think this is the 7th one that I've done, is how many of you guys work out super early in the morning, like super early, like 4 a.m.
Yes.
early,
Yeah.
which is, I think a lot of people really struggle with that idea, myself included. I'm a night person, and because I have 3 little kids, like our morning schedule is not completely in my control right now, but I think one of the benefits of that, and Rich talked about it in his interview when he was here before, is just that the only thing that's going to stop you from working out at 4:30 in the morning is you not getting up.
Right.
Like, not something else isn't going to come up that needs to happen at 4:30 in the morning. And so I think what I've noticed is with so many of you is that's what's really helped consistency, because it's not like, what else is there to do at 4:30 in the
Right.
morning besides sleep, obviously? But you're not going to get stuck in traffic,
You're
or
right.
someone's not going to call and need you to come do this or that, or one of your kids isn't going to, need help unless they've got a sick kid or
You're
something.
right.
So it's something that I'm interested in doing eventually. Maybe not 4:30, but like a 5:30.
Right.
Is once the kids are sleeping through the night better and stuff. I think it's definitely something that
Yeah, and I think
Will be
because
good.
I don't like getting up at 4:30 in the morning, but I also know that if I don't get in like whatever I want, that come afternoon time when I want to do it, I'm not going to be able to, because
Right.
just everybody's
Stuff
awake
comes.
and everybody's just mom, and I'm
Yeah.
like, there's 2 people here, mom and dad.
yeah,
Okay.
go talk to him about
I
it.
know. I'm like, I appreciate it, but
What's your favorite extra program?
I love the butts and guts. I love working like the legs,
Okay.
and just because I know how powerful they are.
Yeah.
And I love the definition when I get everything like on point. I just like, oh,
And then you have a workout. This episode will come out a few days before your workout comes up, so we won't say what it is, but you're super excited about it. You're working out with DH?
yes,
And you're pumped about the movements.
I am. I was so worried.
They're
'cause-
butts and gutsy.
Yes. But I'm like, you know what? They're going to hit me with like thrusters, burpees, and running, like my 3 weakest movements.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. This is, I feel comfortable
Yeah, that
with
one's
those.
going to be a fun one for
Yeah.
you guys.
I'm looking forward to it. And then to be paired with DH. Ooh.
Oh, it's going to be great. I mean, I just think that it's so cool to have you here, and you have meant so much to so many people in the community. How bummed were you when we took away the likes? Were you bummed, or were you like, oh my gosh, I have so much free time?
No,
Have you
it's-
replaced it with anything else?
Yes, I've replaced it with talking with my kids. And I'm like, I'm there.
Engaging with real humans.
Right. No, I was bummed because I really did enjoy it.
Yeah.
I really loved being able to see everybody's performance and see,
Do you want us to give out your phone number? They can text you
right?
their workout times every day.
There you go. Like, they can find me on social media. But it was, I mean, I could see, the need for it, because Wadify was just not happening for street parking, because you guys are growing like at leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
So I totally could see the need. But I was bummed, but it was really cool too to see that like Heather's like this. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, no way.
It's going to be one of those things in, a few years from now. I mean, we've obviously had so many members join since then who are like, what does this even mean? And so we like that little, like, we like to have little Easter eggs of things and things that people have to dig to find out and go talk about on Facebook and everything. So,
but
it'll be a part of it forever. Now you're now a part of all of that forever. I asked you in the email what was the most important parts of the messaging of street parking, what stood out to you the most. And I think it's really cool that you mentioned more than nothing, because you are a type of person who likes to work out a lot, where maybe people wouldn't assume that somebody who likes to work out as much as you do would need more than nothing, or that would resonate with you so much. So why did you choose that as one of the two things that mean so much to you, if it doesn't seem like you're somebody who needs more than nothing, because you love to do all the things?
Right. I liked the more than nothing because even with me loving to work out and being on the go, there are those times when you get into that funk where you're just, I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit at home, watch TV, and even like give up, because it's like I'm not hitting what I want to hit, or I'm not losing what I want to lose. There's times when I'm like, I'm done. I'm just going to get on my moo-moo and I'm going to get my ice cream.
Forget it.
And I'm going to be happy, But it's just like the more than nothing movements, the more than nothing, like, what? I parked at the very end of the grocery parking lot and I'm walking. That's more than just,
You're conscious. You're staying aware of it.
Yes. And it helps me get out of those funks too, where it's just like, okay, I did that. So, let's try and go up and down the stairs a little bit more.
I think that's so important for people to hear, because this whole time we've been talking about how much you enjoy working out. And even when you were going through so much hard times, like you were able to stay consistent. I think sometimes people assume that someone like that never has days where they don't want to do it. They never have days where they want to throw in the towel and buy a bunch of moo-moos and,
Yeah.
I think that people assume that people who are very consistent and who love working out never experience those trials.
Right.
And I think people like us, we don't experience it as much, partially because it's such a habit. That you just don't think about it so much. But I mean, I have those days too, where I'm just like, I don't feel like doing this today. I don't feel like going out there or whatever. Right. Even with something that you love and something that's so convenient and something that's such a habit, I think it's important for people to hear, like, everybody feels that.
Yes, it is true. Because I know a lot of people, the whole thing of like, well, no, they can never feel what I'm feeling. It's like, no, I have, or even with people like, I don't want to go to the gym because people are going to talk about me, or they're going to say, it's like, go to the gym. Because more than not, they're not going to.
No one's paying attention to you.
Yeah, they're not there for you. They're not there to judge you and stuff. It's like, just do you. Just be the best that you can be. And at the moment, if it's just parking further out, then do it, because at least you're putting that first, putting you first, which at the time could be the last thing on your mind, is putting you first, especially when you have the kids, because you want to make sure the kids are taken care of, and that's one of the reasons why I have to get up at 4:30 in the morning, is because that's the only time I know that the kids don't need me, and or the husband doesn't need me and stuff. And that's for me, because for the longest time, it was just a solo ride working out. It was just me. My husband doesn't work out. The kids at the time weren't young. So it's like, okay, if I want to do it, I have to do it before they're awake. Because if I don't, then I won't get it in and stuff. And so now that it's become a habit where I don't enjoy getting up at 4:30 in the morning.
But you just do it.
Yeah, I do it. I get my clothes out. I get everything set. I get up. I roll over, I'm like, oh, no, and then I go in and I get going. But then I'm also a morning person that helps as well. Like, I like to get things going, So I go work out, I come home, I'm doing the dishes, I'm making my breakfast, and I'm out within an hour to go to this work.
I think playing around, I think people can play around with it though, because I've been told by a lot of people who are morning people, that'll be like, I don't know how you work all day and then go hard at a workout at 4:30 p.m. Like, I can't even imagine. So you just got to play around with it and find what works for you, and find, I don't necessarily love working out. I mean, if I had my way, I'd work out at like 10 a.m. But that's just not like productive at this point in my life. But yeah, so I think you can play around with it and don't feel like you have to be a super early morning person to find consistency, but it can help for sure. And the last thing I wanted to just say while we were on the topic of what that, and everybody has those days, or going back to when you're going through something that's emotionally challenging, or a loss of someone in the family, or just anything like that. For me personally, if I stop working out, I already feel bad about this thing that's happened or this thing that I'm going through. Mm-hmm. I'm not getting the endorphins from working out, and you start feeling bad about how you're treating yourself, and it just all compiles. And at least if you're like, hey, at least I've maintained, maybe I haven't worn anything other than sweats for a month. I mean, I'm a sweats wearer, or maybe I, look a little tattered, or maybe I was trying to work on learning this new thing or whatever, and maybe that's kind of, but at least I've like maintained this one thing that I know makes me feel better. Right. I know it's important. I know it's good for my health. There's something to that of like, I haven't completely let it all go.
Right.
That I think can just, again, prevent you from going down too hard of a spiral where it's just, now you feel bad about how you look, and you feel bad about how you feel, and this thing happened, and you're sad. So I know it's so hard when you're going through, everybody has their stuff. But it always encouraging people to just, like you're saying, if it's going for a walk, if it's parking a car further away, where you can at least go to bed at night saying like, I did something.
Right.
I didn't completely abandon taking care of myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's for everything that you go through, you have to realize like there's people that count on you.
Yes.
Whether it is like the kids or, husband, like there's somebody there that wants you around. So it's like, you got to take care of yourself so that you can be there for them when they go down that hole, or, and it just, I can't, like, honestly, I don't, because you guys came along with street parking and you made it so easy to just stay home. I don't know where I'd be again if I had to leave to go somewhere to work out, because like you can only, I guess, run so much. It's like there's things that you need to do, It's like, I mean, running's good and it helps, but it's just like you'd even get tired of that, where it's like you have that flexibility and that variety to like mix things up. It's like, okay, I really need to run hard, so I'm gonna go, for a 5K time trial for running. It's like, I really need to lift heavy. I want to do, the deadlift, or so you guys came like,
and sometimes you get into it too, where you're like, we encourage people, you're allowed to choose the workout that you want. You're encouraged to, if you're like, can't look at the goal time and care about that at all, don't start the clock. Right. If it says 5 rounds and you only do 3 because like, you hit a wall in the middle. But what I've found a lot of times is I'll start something thinking like, I just don't have it in me today. Like this thing happened, or I'm tired or whatever. And then once you're doing it, you're like, okay, it's fine. I'm fine. I'll finish it, And there'll be workouts for me where it's like, just do one more round. And it's like, okay, fine. Just do one more round. Okay. And then by the, and then you're done. It's that getting started, and having the ability to do it at home just is so much less of a barrier.
It really
to entry.
Yeah. It really is. I know, like, if there's 5 rounds, because there are those days it's like 5 rounds. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just do 3.
Right.
So then I get the first round in. I'm like, okay, well, I got 1 round in. I've started. Might as well, like,
now I'm doing
quit. And then it's like 3 rounds. You're like, well, I'm halfway through.
Might as well. Yeah. The same thing happens to me a lot.
Yeah. And then
but if it was like, get in the car, drive somewhere, park, go talk to people, it's like, yeah.
Yeah. And and that whole, like, when you're going through that stuff where you just don't want to pretend to be okay.
Yeah.
It's nice to just like be home and, let the tears flow, or let the frustration go.
Or put on like your angry music, or your like whatever music it is that you need that day. That's a big part of it too. I know a lot of people, that's why they like working out at home. They're like, I just want to choose my own music. And I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. So it's, I can't, because I think I've had a couple of people like, would you go back to a box? And I'm like, no. I don't, because I like what I'm doing. I like where I'm at. I just, No, I'm good.
Well, we're so glad to have you, and we're so grateful for you. And I hope you haven't done your workout yet. You'll be doing it tomorrow, so I hope it goes well for you. And
Yay.
yeah,
So excited.
all right. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Awesome.